Well, it started, my flying started when I was 17 and a half in Czechoslovakia, right after the war. So everybody had an ambition to be a pilot. So I was among thousands of them, and I was lucky. I managed to get through the first eliminations. We started flying on the gliders. From gliders, we went to a military, just basic training, and from there, Czechoslovakia, in the war days, they have been building airplanes for German Luftwaffe. So we had lots of surplus aircraft from Luftwaffe, like Bukers, Arado 96, then Messerschmitt 109, we had a Heinkel 111, 11s, then we had a Seabird twin-engine trainer. And so I went through the procedure. After 2 years, I finished my training and I became flying sergeant. Later on, they become officers, but we were flying sergeants. And then I was assigned for military duty at the squadron. And with lucky break, I applied for military transport. And I got the chance to fly DC-3, Junkers 52s, and Seabills. And then 1950, I have been assigned to Czechoslovakian Airlines.
As a commercial pilot?
As a commercial pilot, because at that time, the Czechoslovakian people under communist system, they threw everyone who was flying in the Second World War, because for them, they've been undesirables. So they've been looking for a new generation, and I was the new generation.
So you weren't in the war, you just missed that because of your age?
Yes. And then, of course, there have been pilots who used to fight on the Russian side, but there was only a few of them. And then I started flying for Czech Airlines. I spent 2 months on the left seat with an instructor pilot, and I became a captain. And of course, I was more scared than the passengers. But anyway, so I flew for them for 3 years, and we were very fortunate, no accident, no problems, even with the limited knowledge of the pilots, because the way what was happening in 1948, when the communists took over our country by force, we become controlled by the communists. I already started disliking it. And it was getting worse and worse and worse, and then I went with the Czech Airlines. I planned to escape. And with other people's help, we managed to get a DC-3, overpowered a co-pilot. We had a flight engineer and a navigator as a crew members. So we overpowered them, put them in a baggage compartment, went too close to the ground. It was beautiful moonlight. One time I have said, how did you fly so low at night? I said, well, it was full moonshine. And the guy said, you know what moonshine is? I said, yeah, it's a light from a moon. He said, no, moonshine is a whiskey. I said, no, I didn't have a whiskey at that time, but we managed. We flew, and MiG-15 supposedly, I haven't seen them, they've been on top of us, but they didn't want to go so close to the ground. So after 1 hour and 15 minutes, I knew we were out of the country, because in Czechoslovakia, we didn't have any neon lights. And the city which we flew over, I think it was Nuremberg. It was nothing but neon lights, because everybody tried to sell, free country. So then I knew that we were out of communist country, so I started climbing, and a few minutes later we had 2 F-84s, F-84s Thunderstreak fighter planes, American. In the moonlight, I could see him with the helmet in that cockpit. So my navigator, who used to fly in Czech, my new navigator, the passenger, who we managed to get in the cockpit, of course, he spoke perfect English, and I speak it in no English even today. It's pretty bad. But he could make a contact with a Frankfurt, and a Frankfurt wouldn't receive us. So I said, let's go to London. And London was giving 0-0. So we were planning to belly the DC-3 in Manston. And meantime, over Brussels, the Americans, it was 9:30, 10 o'clock, they probably found a commanding officer. They woke him up or whatever, And he said, immediately get the Czechoslovakian guys here to Frankfurt. I don't know if it was a publicity reason or whatever reason it was. So I welcomed it. I said, at least I come back to American side, because that's what we planned, to go to American side.